Friends, everyone wants a little bit of control in their life, and I can't give that to you. But what I can give you is the illusion thereof using a wonderful device that I have been using extensively called the Streamdeck by Elgato. Join me today, and I'm going to show you how to use it, set it up, and use some great free tools that will make it one of the most powerful things in your toolkit. All right, I did record a bit of an intro. It's very self-indulgent. It tells you all the reasoning about all the smart ideas that I have about using control surfaces for my workflow. However, you want to hear that reasoning after we get some stuff done. The first thing I want you to do is to load up bitfocus.io. In fact, go to the website right now and you can set up a free user account. All you have to do is, if you're looking at the web page, go up to the users area and click that button that says users area. You're going to see a bunch of information there, including sign-ins and stuff. The one that you want is the sign up for free page, agree to the terms, send me newsletters if you want. You're going to turn them off. You don't have to get newsletters if you don't want to. This is 2021. We're over that. So once you have received your login email and responded to it and proved you are who you say you are, you will get access to the site. And so I'm going to log in using my account right now. And now I'm looking right at the download page. And the download page has a number of options. The notable one over here is beta builds. For instance, I have an XL Streamdeck, which you see right here. My XL Streamdeck was not supported with the initial release of BitFocus Companion. However, it is now supported. So if you need something that isn't quite supported yet, you could check in the beta builds and see if it's there. And if it's not, you can talk to folks on the open source project, the GitHub. You can reach out there and do a feature request possibly. But right now what we're going to do is we're going to download a version 2.13. Once that's done downloading, you're going to go ahead and install the software using the default options are fine. All right. And then it will ask you if you want to run Companion right away. As you can see, the Stream Deck is on and connected to USB already, and it is presumably functional by the Elgato logo on the front. And I'm going to go ahead and finish the installation and run Companion. The JavaScript server has an interface that looks like this. Now, as you can see on my Stream Deck, a bunch of stuff popped up, right? So that's actually from a previous show. Let's start over. So the first thing I'm going to do is looking at the BitFocus interface. I'm going to hit launch GUI, and it's going to open the GUI for me. If you click minimize, the companion software will go into the system tray. And I'll go do that right now. I hit hide, and it'll just stay minimized in the system tray. If you hit close, obviously it'll close the software. So now we're looking at the connections of items that I have in my shop. So I have an X Air mixer, a vmix installation, and a Unity intercom client. So what I have here is connected devices. This is what's actually connected to the computer via USB. There are ways to emulate this if you need to do it in the cloud, but this for me is directly connected. And the first one is the emulator. And the emulator is essentially a completely empty instance of a Stream Deck that you can put your own buttons on. And in case you don't have a Stream Deck, you can actually practice with this software and use the emulator instead of a real one. Myself, I'm going to use the device that I have here. You can turn up and down the brightness of the buttons inside of the companion software. I like mine nice and bright. And then you can switch which page it has it on, right? You could also turn your buttons sideways. So if you wanted to flip the unit upside down or do it vertically and have it standing in a stand next to your computer, you could do that too. Mine is in a normal orientation. So over here on the left panel, just a few notes real quick. You've got your overall menu right here. The little hamburger icon at the corner will open up the menu on the left, and then you can actually expand it a little bit further with the arrow at the bottom. And when you have this open, you have a number of options that are related to the internal software. So there's the emulator, the web buttons, mobile buttons. Each one of those actually gives you an option to operate the software as if you had a Stream Deck, but you don't. You can just run it as an emulated software and you get the same buttons and everything, except that it's in a web page instead of on your physical unit. So that's pretty handy Because what I'm saying to you right now is that even if you don't have a Stream Deck, you can get this software right now and configure it for your setup and use it today without even having the hardware, and then get your hardware when it meets the budget requirements. Now, we're going to take a look at mine. Mine's all set up. I'm going to go ahead and do something that you should always do. I'm going to export my configuration right now. So I'm going to use this button over here on the tab on the right-hand side. I'm going to hit export, and it's going to open up a save dialog. That's in another window right now, so you can see it. So basically, I'm going to save that in a safe spot, and that's going to give me the ability to recall everything that's on this particular Stream Deck at any time. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset it right now. I've now reset it. I'm clean and 100% bare metal. With this bare metal piece of equipment, we have to set up a couple of things. One, we have to set up the software that is we're going to be talking to and controlling, and we have to then set up the buttons that are going to send the commands to that software. So like I said, we're going to use vmix. So if we look, we can find the location of our vmix machine on the network by looking in the web controller dialog, or if you just know the IP address of the machine that is running vmix, you could start there. But using the same IP address that the web controller uses is the right way to go about this. So we're going to note that number, and then we're going to go over to our instances tab. Then we can either add by category or add by manufacturer. It depends on which one you're into, but these are long lists of gear. So if we add by categories, you can see these are all of the different types of equipment. I can't even get to the bottom of this menu. It's so long on the screen. But there's just about everything here that you could possibly imagine. What we're going to do though very quickly is I'm just going to add by search. This is a little bit faster than any other one. So I'm going to type in vmix, and there we have it. Studio Coast vmix. I'm going to add it. It's going to show up here, and then it's going to ask for, where is this thing? Now I can connect to the one that's running right now that I'm actually recording onto, but that's not the one I want to do. I want the one that's over there. All right. And this is asking for 8099. This should work just fine. So I'm applying the changes, and then there it is. It shows up, it's available, and I'm gonna go back to instances, and here we are. Status is okay. And if I go to log, it's gonna show that it has been updated. I've added some colored inputs so you can see what's going on. But the very fastest way to get anything going on is to add preset buttons to the interface. Now from here on out, if everything's going right, if we see our page menu, if we see that the Stream Deck is connected properly to Companion, this should be super easy. If I click on a button, I will see a tab open up over here. It will say edit button number. The 1.2 indicates page 1, button 2. I can select which button type it is. These ones don't, the other three don't matter. The only one that matters is regular button. Now, all of this information will tell a button what to do. I can add a text, I can add an image, I can change the font size, I can add a background, I can change the text alignment, I can do an up-down action, I can set it to be a toggle button or a single press, I can have it have a delay, I can have the delay relative to another factor. But these, again, this is the custom version. So before we get to that, let's take a look at our presets and look at the software interface that we have and see if we don't have what we already need just waiting for us, right? So, oh, look here. So here's for Mix 1, the presets. I'm gonna hit previews. So I'm gonna add my previews for my channels to the panel. And then look at that. That fourth one already turned green because we do have the fourth input already in preview. So it's telling us that it is reading it in preview already. So now we're gonna put the program bus here, and this will send it automatically to the program. And look at it, it's telling us that our input 1 is already on program. So as you can see, there's already a little bit of detailed information that's designed there. So let's take a look at one of these buttons and see what they look like. So we've pulled it over from the preset, but obviously someone sat down and configured it custom for us. So what we have here is there's an action that's already assigned. Send input to preview. Input 1, mix 1. There you go. And then it says up and off actions. Well, it's not a toggle, it's just a one press. It does the one thing. It sends the input selected to the preview bus or preview channel. And the feedback is it's going to change colors based on what's on preview. So there's a number of these feedback options and actions that are going to be useful to you. Now, again, up here is the latch and toggle button, as you see this here. If you trigger this, it will add, basically your key up and off action will be required for it to work, or basically it won't have the secondary action. So if you need to have something that turns on and off with two presses, so like turn on an audio channel and turn off the audio channel with the same button, you can do that with latch/toggle button. One thing I don't like about these buttons, you know, they're a little bit big fonts. Let's just change that down a little bit. Let's make it a little bit easier to view for my old eyeballs. Let's do that. Not have it crowding that edge there a little bit. Look at that. It looks a little bit nicer. You can see how that's reflecting my changes instantly on the surface there. If I want to get crazy, I could add a little PNG file. In fact, let's do that. I have made myself into the background image for program one. In fact, I can make myself the background image for a number of buttons. Let's put it on a spare one just so you can glory in this wonderful image of me. So basically, yeah, you can create your own icons and have them set up if you want to have things be graphically oriented, or if you could just have raw text if you're doing things on the quick, which is what I usually do. I just leave it as text most often. I do have some things that are like transport buttons, like play, stop, fast forward, end of track, beginning of track, that type of thing. The kind of the standard visuals. If I'm setting stuff up for somebody else, I find it handy because people can read those a lot easier. But in any case, as you can see, it's very easy to set up your buttons. You can find all of your actions in here. So from this new button that I made, that's my face. Let's go ahead and let's say I want to bring on my lower third. There's a whole list of transitions and things that you can run for vmix. So anything with vmix at the beginning of its name is an action that's dedicated to the vmix system. As I go down here, I can start to see things like data source, slides, video, replay. And as I go, I can see overlays. I might have passed it already, but let's use the search button to our advantage. I'm gonna go over up. There it is, overlay functions. So now I can toggle an overlay onto the program or on preview. Generally, I like to do transition overlay on or off, and then I can add the graphic that I intend to be on that overlay as its input number here. So if that graphic were on input 5, for instance, this is where we would put it. And then we put a name up here and be like TL3 for Tracy lower third, maybe. And that background color it's gonna be hard to see it. So make it nice bright red. Actually, still hard to see. Let's make it blue. Maybe white was the best one all along. We can make, again, the font size, change the font size to make it more, we don't want to cover up just enough of the face to be able to read it. You can also change the alignment of the text. So you could use your PNG still and not be covering anybody's beautiful face. So that's basically the nuts and bolts of the companion software. If you want to hear more about my reasoning behind some of these things that I do and talking more in depth about kind of why I like the software, stick around for a minute. But before you go, please like, subscribe, follow, do all that stuff, click the buttons and the bells, and reciprocate with my help to you in kind with that subscribe. I really appreciate it. I'm really grateful for your attention today. And if there's anything else that you think that you might like to learn about, or that you think that falls in the purview of remote production or home studio type of production, let me know. I'll share my own workflows pretty readily. So I'll make another video based on your requests. Thanks a bunch. See you later. This is the Elgato Streamdeck, and you may have heard about these before. Everybody that I work with raves about them. They're wonderful devices, really sturdily made. I mean, it's made out of metal casing. The buttons themselves are OLED screens, so you can actually play animations on them in some cases. Depending on your software, you might be able to do like a flipbook situation. They can toggle between different images. And a lot of times in the software that we use, it'll page. So you're not limited to this number of buttons. Actually, you can up and down page through, and each of these button faces will change to another page of buttons, depending on the software you use, of course. Now, that goes back to the other super critical component of this conversation about getting control of devices on your network, and that is, what software do you use? And almost every control interface has their own software that comes with it, or has a piece of software that it has been designed to operate. But the reality is that those pieces of software are usually only made to control one thing. And when it comes to production, there's always devices coming in. There's all kinds of stuff from all over the industry that is being added to our networks all the time that we are being expected to control in a very metered and precise fashion during a show. And to that end, a lot of times we can either work with a giant control surface, like something that comes with your TriCaster, your Ross, or your Grass Valley or whatever, or we can use something like this, which is very specific and much smaller, and we can carry around with us from job to job. Now, to go along with the hardware, the Stream Deck, there are several options. The first option being the software that comes with it. And I don't recommend this. It works for some things, and it's made for like gamers, and it has a lot of stuff that's already pre-programmed. It's probably easiest to use of all of the software options. However, it's very basic in its design, and it's made by the manufacturer with, and it's kind of like an add-on that's not really the most supported piece of software that they make at Elgato. Now, the best software that I've found so far is this piece of software called Central Control. And Central Control is a piece of software made by just a single developer. He's great. He fields a lot of questions on different forums and so on. You can reach out directly to him, and he produces his own tutorials, and he makes tools that are really, really useful. I think he does like DJ stuff and does some like Resolume arena lighting projection type stuff that he made his own tools to fix, and then he sells it to other folks to be able to use. And the interesting thing about his piece of software is it's pretty open. Like it accesses a lot of different very useful production tools. But what we're going to talk about today is the free option, which is what everybody likes, is the free option, and that's basically a piece of software called BitFocus Companion. BitFocus Companion, it can be found at www.bitfocus.io, and it is donationware, but you can get a free copy immediately by creating an account and signing in. And once you've signed in, you have access to downloads and the beta versions as well. And the reason I mentioned those is because the downloadable version is the stable version, the one that's been tested most often and is least likely to have issues on site when you're using it in production. And the beta versions are stuff where they're adding or changing features to match changing versions of external software or tools, or they're adding connectivity to something new. And so unless you need to use something that is not yet a part of the main branch of software, I don't recommend you use the beta software on any of your production devices. But the main branch software is very stable. I've used it a bunch. It's super great to use. And so what I want to walk you through today is setting up buttons on a Stream Deck. Every Stream Deck is going to be pretty much the same. I'm going to use vmix as an example. There's a lot of other options in there. I'll go through some of the different devices and how to connect to them. But the main takeaway here is that you can connect to just about anything that's connected on a network. So if it's connected via IP networking, soon in our world, we're going to see that everything is going to have some kind of control interface over IP. And already in production, we see a lot of our devices have even standardized types of interfaces like OSC and others that allow us to send commands that are uniform, so that if I send like a take command from one device, it'll recognize it on another. But the great thing about something like Companion is that it takes the Stream Deck, which is essentially an inert piece of hardware, and gives all of the buttons a purpose, and you're going to be able to control them yourselves and tell each button what it needs to be able to do. And when you program a button, you can even do things that are arbitrary. Like you can actually just write a simple script for it where it opens a TCP/IP port, sends a piece of raw data, and waits for a response, or doesn't even wait for a response, doesn't have to. And in these cases, you can actually write your own commands. So in the case that you have a network device that has an API, that has a type of networking control interface, but it's not officially supported in the companion software, it's still possible for you to write just a base TCP/IP piece of code that goes straight into it. If you know what that piece of hardware or software is expecting, you could just write your own. So this is very powerful. It's very flexible. And we're going to start with the things that are most useful to me and a lot of my friends when we work on vmix and a couple other tools inside. So let's get right to that.